Wide-angle lenses are hardly hard to find for phones, are they? You can get them everywhere, anything from $5 all the way up to, I think the most expensive one I ever saw was some company out there trying to sell this really fancy wide-angle lens for $300 or something like that. This one's somewhere in the middle, and it is one of the best of those middle-of-the-range wide-angle lenses that I've come across yet. It is super crisp, super clear, super sharp, minimal distortion around the edges. It does have a macro mode where you unscrew the front element and you use the little macro thing that's inside all wide-angle lenses, because it's part of how they have to work. They have to have that macro lens in there to get it to adapt the light path properly to an existing lens and all that kind of. This macro lens, not one of the best, but in a few very specific ways you can use it. It is remarkably good. In many other ways, it is decidedly average. But for the sake of the wide-angle lens, just for the sake of contrast, I've now taken it off the camera so you can see the difference in the field of view in video mode. We're going to have a look at the field of view in photo mode in just a second, but that's what the thing looks like. I'm shooting with the rear camera, so I could probably get the preview up on my watch and see what I'm doing here, see if this is in focus, or I could just throw in some B-roll and do it properly and professionally. This is definitely worth paying attention to. So, let's break it down, I guess. It sounded too cliche. Let's break it down. Need something better. Let's get to it. Without further ado, all the YouTubers have used up all the catchphrases, all the little segues, all the little habitual segues they use. We'll do the thing where we grab the lens. How about that? Oh, transition. No, even that's lame. Let me just show you stuff and things about this stuff and thing. The lens is from Rhinoshield, and it's actually designed to be part of their case ecosystem. So let's bounce over those before we dig more into what the lens does. Now, working directly with their existing cases is actually great news, as the problem I've had with investing in many lenses of this type over the years is that they're either made to work with a special case that fits only one model of phone, or they're a universal clip-on type, which can be used with basically any phone, but is a lot less accurate and is a bit fiddly to line up correctly to make sure your focus is right and you're not occluding part of the lens and But the advantage of the clip-on type is, of course, it's not outdated as soon as you upgrade your phone every year. And yes, I'm one of those people who upgrade their phone every year. Deal with it. What Rhinoshield have done, however, is separate the lens mount from the case itself, so you get the benefits of both worlds. This one lens is adaptable across their whole range of cases. One of the cases it works with is called the Mod NX, which is a modular case. Here you can switch between a bumper style case and a full back case as your needs or desires hit, even switching up components for color combinations if you're a bit of a fashionista and want to match your outfit or something. In fact, with 7 different frame, 11 different rim, 16 different button color options, you've got a huge array of combo choices, and the website is set up to let you order any specific combination you like. Importantly, the fit and materials are really very impressive. They seem tough, they seem resistant to damage, and they're super clean fitting, with installation and removal being pretty fuss-free. I'm also told they're highly impact resistant. I'm not willing to test that with my phone, I'll just trust them when they say that. They say they're made to exceed military standards. But to use the Mod NX with the case, you will need to use the backplate though, as that's what's actually holding the bayonet socket little piece thingy in place. The other option is their 3rd generation solid suit cases, a more premium feeling and style and material case. I particularly like this light walnut one. I think it's really lovely. And in fact, it is what I personally used most often in my testing. But there are 11 other finishes available though, including a couple of different kinds of wood, leather, graphite, carbon fiber of course, and some flat colors, even prints. In both cases, the cases feel strong and light due to the use of impact and shock resistant materials that Rhinoshield say make their cases 22% thinner and 40% lighter. They don't really say 22% thinner than what, or 40% lighter than what. Maybe they're comparing it to some rando case, maybe it's their old cases they're comparing to, I don't know. Either way, they have an impact protection rating of 11-foot drops, so I guess good for basketballers, parkour enthusiasts. All I can really speak to is the materials inspire a good feeling of confidence in how they feel and how well they appear to be manufactured. Now, back to the lens itself. They call it the 4K HD 2-in-1 wide plus macro lens. And this is a pet peeve of mine, putting 4K into the name of a lens, because that is complete nonsense. What they're actually trying to imply, with a bit of marketing wording there, with the clumsy and inherently inaccurate use of 4K on the lens, is that the lens is made to sufficient optical quality that it won't hinder the quality or sharpness of the image resolved onto the sensor when you are using a camera capable of shooting 4K. The sensor being the part of the camera that actually is responsible for pixel resolution, not the lens. The 2-in-1 part, as I mentioned earlier in the intro, is that just like many other wide-angle lenses of this type, they take the opportunity to use the close-up focus lens element, an essential part of the optical path for wide-angle adapter lenses like this to even work properly, to be used on its own. The results are not as good as a dedicated macro lens, which would have a more sophisticated optical design, but it's still nice to be able to take advantage of this bit of glass that has to be there anyway, and while it only really works well when your subject is nearly touching the lens and the only useful part of the image is dead center of the frame and you have to be careful about getting the shadow of the phone itself into the shot and all that kind of stuff, you can still get some neat and pretty cool images from it if you work around and indeed with the limitations that are imposed here. But it is, of course, the primary mode of operation, the wide-angle lens, that is most useful and most desirable here.
And of course, one of the other reasons to own a wide-angle lens like this is if you are like me and do this holding your own camera kind of thing from time to time, or you like your selfies, or you like your group selfies in particular, which I don't take a lot of because I hate most people. Point being that this makes that job a lot easier. I can sort of have my arm bent into a comfortable position, still be quite in frame, still have room around me, instead of having to stretch my arm way out here to get a decent framing, or have my face filling up far too much of the screen. Good comparison, this is that exact same shot with my, well, not exact same shot, but exact same camera position, exact same attempt to shot. The background's different, I'm the same, but I've taken the lens off. This is just the native field of view of that camera.
This is the first time I've used an add-on lens of this type where I don't begrudge the case I have to use with it. I mean, there have been some nice cases that come with some of these lenses, but they're usually quite bulky, heavy, and quite commonly ugly as well, frankly, and I'd only use the case when I knew I'd be needing to use the lens it supported. This is true of my most recent favourite lens, the Bitplay wide-angle lens. Link to the review of that in the below if you missed it the first time around. Here though, as we just looked at, there's a huge array of case and style choices, and the case itself is thin and light, and when the lens isn't attached, it's basically indistinguishable. In fact, it's literally indistinguishable from any other common slim case. You can't tell that this is designed to snap a lens into. It's a regular case that just happens to be lens compatible. The lens attaches bayonet style, which is faster and easier than a screw-in. I like that, and it's much more secure than a snap-in or friction clutch style mounted lenses. And the fitting on the lens is metal, like the rest of the body of the lens, so wear and tear shouldn't be an issue on the bayonet mounting. But the receiving plate is made of plastic. It seems to be a quite tough thermoplastic, so it should be okay, but it may indeed wear over time, so the lens might get a bit wobbly. But here's the thing, it's not built into the case, so you can just replace that tiny little bit, it's like brand new again. However, one thing that did really annoy me about the way this is all set up is unscrewing the front element to reveal the macro lens is done in the same direction, the same twisty direction as you twist to dismount the whole lens from the bayonet mount, so that's a bit of a pain in the bum. Every time I wanted to unscrew the lens to reveal the macro lens, I'd accidentally dismount the whole lens and fumble with it and get fingerprints on the back element and then have to clean it and then reattach it and then, ugh. All that said, aside from being one of the more pleasantly to physically use lenses I've ever tried on my phones, the optics themselves are quite satisfying too, and that's really the most important thing, of course. No point having a nice case and a nice feeling lens and everything if the images are crap. As with most wide-angle adapter lenses, save the spleen-rupturingly expensive ones with extra optics in it to correct for this, there's an amount of barrel distortion. But it's pretty well controlled, and there's barely any drop-off in sharpness or brightness to worry about. Build quality is great, it's got an anodized aluminium body, and the lenses have clearly had some optical coatings applied, as the control over flaring and chromatic aberration and sharpness across the frame is pretty damn great. In fact, I am so happy with it, so impressed with it. This is now my carry-with lens. It'll stay in my bag at all times, and I'll keep using the cases on my phone, so when I need some more options when shooting with my phone, it'll be ready in literally seconds. This does, of course, replace the clip-on adapter I started using with the Bitplay lens when I upgraded phones, because, of course, the old case I got with that Bitplay lens doesn't work on the new phone anymore, so I had to get a separate clip-on adapter thing for it instead of buying a whole new lens, because Bitplay didn't have the cases ready for the new phone when the new phone launched. Rhinoshield solutions are just noticeably more convenient and easy when it comes to all of that. You'll find compatible cases for the iPhone 7 and, of course, everything right up to the new ones, and most popular Android flagships like the Samsungs, the OnePlus, the Pixels, the Huawei P20, and I think they've got the P30 on the way as well. I remember seeing that on their website. Anyway, a quick pop to their site will let you find the specifics on what phones they have cases for, so you can find out if it's going to work for you. But end of day, my first experiences with Rhinoshield products, actually. I walk away quite impressed, and with a case and lens I'll personally be continuing to use now that my testing and review are done, and that should tell you enough about how I thought about these, shouldn't it? If I'm keeping using the stuff, it must be pretty decent. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this useful, or at least interesting. As always, thank you for doing the interactive stuff that helps the channel. Depending, of course, on how the YouTube algorithms are feeling today. The subscribing, the thumbs, the sharing, the commenting, and the coming back for more and more videos. Can't keep watching, I dare ya. I am Blunty, and I'll catch you next time.